Hey, we're Garage Quest, and today we're talking about our 10 favorite magical items. Stick around.
Like you're stuck to sovereign glue.
20.
Welcome to Garage Quest, a garage show about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm your host, May McDonough, and with me as always is my co-host, Rusty. Today we're talking about our 10 favorite magical items. And no, we're not talking about the Wiccan section on Etsy. We are talking about the DMG, right?
Yeah.
So without any further ado, let's just get right to it. These are in no particular order.
Yeah. Before you crucify us in the comments,
Yeah.
This is just our 10 favorite.
These are just our 10 favorite. So, and we're going to tell you why. So why don't you kick it off?
Okay. I think I would start with the Cloak of Displacement.
Great place to start.
Love this as a player character. I usually play rogues and other mobile type skill monkeys that aren't always very heavy with hit points or have the ability to wear armor. So anything that can impose disadvantage or nullify a advantage against me is great. Another reason why I really like it is it's actually made from the pelt of a displacer beast, which is
really? I
yes,
didn't know that.
it is in fact, which is one of my favorite monsters from any edition of D&D. And yeah, and it's the kind of thing where, you know, certain monsters, when you fight them in dungeons or encounters or whatever, they're not just foes that you mow down and get experience points.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can harvest what you find when you slay that.
Oh,
that
what do you
beast.
harvest?
Well, in this case, the pelt.
Mm.
Yeah. So it can be used to craft.
So you can
magic.
craft your own Cloak of Displacement.
You
Are
could.
there extra mechanics for that?
There are
probably?
extra mechanics, but
My first magical item is just straight potion of invulnerability. There's not really much to it. If you drink it, it's very rare. If you drink it for a minute, you are completely invulnerable. You can't take damage, which a minute in battle time is infinity.
yeah,
Right.
10 rounds
6
is
seconds
longer
around.
than most encounters even last.
Yeah, that's just, you're impervious at that point. So I think even though it's a really simple, basic potion, I think it's got to be on the list.
Potions are also really great as a way to introduce magical items to your party without necessarily like ruining the game in the future, because they can only be used the one time.
The one time. And I think it's a really great way to help newer players discover different spells that exist, maybe that aren't in their class, because a lot of the potions are really based off of spells that exist for any particular class.
Yeah, almost like it gives them a little try before they buy.
Yeah, for their own class, or even it just lets them see what other classes are doing with magic, so that maybe next time they build a character, they're more interested in trying something else. All right, so what's your number 3?
Hold on, let me take a sip from my little tiki cup. Okay, so this one, you know, we've used it once in our primary campaign group, and it's kind of funny, but the anal beads of force.
The beads of force.
Yeah.
They're not anal beads.
Well, they come with
They can be.
Well, they come in a group of like 1d4 plus 2, I think, and like all on a string. And I think that like the main way you get
They're
them,
on the string.
and you gotta pull them out of.
They are not on a string. They're on a string.
No,
No.
they're not on a string.
No,
on
they're
a
not.
string. But they are a really cool magical item. Again, they're expended when you use them, so it's a cool thing to kind of maybe just as a one-time reward to your party.
beads of force. If you give them anal beads of force, you're going to have a very different sort of evening.
Yeah. And yeah, they'll definitely come back to get you later. When
An
you're
adventure
like,
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, aside from like just causing force damage, it also traps the victim of it in
Force damage.
Traps them in a sphere of force. You know?
Yeah. What did we use that for?
A number of things.
Yeah, that is our favorite item to be surprise gifted for sure. Let's go to number 4, which is one of my favorites and one of my own personal magical items. And that's
She actually has one of these.
yeah. But
Okay.
it's a ring of mind shielding. So a ring of mind shielding is really cool because it makes you immune to having your thoughts read. It makes you immune to anyone detecting your lies. Also, they can't detect your alignment if it's concealed. They can't detect your creature type if it's concealed. So it makes you, it basically makes seeing through a disguise that you wear impossible, no matter what your skill checks are. And
Which really, instead of being like anti-psionics, it's really more about like adding more oomph to your like your spy character or your deceptive character.
well, it's both because it also can make you impervious to like mind flares, any sort of telepathic baddie you're going to be able to choose whether you want them to be able to telepathically communicate with you. Any monster that tries to read your mind can't, or tries to charm you telepathically can't. So or you have the option rather. But so it's a great defense tool, and it's great for more incognito outside of battle encounter
Yeah, very versatile.
concepts. And then the best thing about it, and this is why it had to be on a list for me, is that's already a really versatile tool. But when you die wearing the ring of mind shielding, your soul enters the ring of mind shielding, and you can telepathically communicate from inside of it.
Okay.
So there, not only does it shields your mind from any sort of uninvited penetration. It's going to be one of those nights, folks.
Yeah, really.
It also kind of gives you immortality in a way when you wear it. In fact, I might suggest you wear it
Just
if you
as
don't
like
need
a backup.
Yeah, if you don't need any other magical item, pop that on, because if nothing else, you won't die.
Yeah,
Or you'll become immortal inside of a metal.
Well, it at
magical
least
item.
buys you time for the rest of the people in your party to find somebody to cast resurrection. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a winner. All right, so take me to number 5.
All right, my third choice in this, so I guess number 5 in this list of top 10 favorites for us personally. That's the only. There's no hierarchy other than that. Portable hole. Portable hole.
Yes.
It reminds me of Looney Tunes, the old Acme.
Acme holes,
Yeah.
yeah. Only it's not quite the same function. Some of it.
Well, I know what you're gonna say. You don't like that it can't make you go through walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
It's a hole to like an astral plane as
Yeah.
opposed to
no, not an astral plane. It's kind of similar to Bag of Holding, but the thing that is so cool about it, I think, is aside from being able to stash stuff in it. If you're being chased by some bad guys in a dungeon, that's hard. Got lots of blind turns and corners. Pop around a corner, throw it on the ground. Bad guys fall in, and you snatch them up.
yeah, it's a fantastic trap.
Yeah,
That's for
definitely.
sure.
Very, very good way to just kind of like, or maybe even just throw it in a shadowy corner and you pop in there. There are all kinds of cool ways that you can use it. 6-foot diameter hole you know?
Now, when you imagine the portable hole, do you imagine the Acme thing where it's kind of like this rubbery
Well,
black
it does.
circle?
It folds up.
Yeah?
Yeah. It
And just
explicitly
accordions
says.
out?
Yeah, it's kind of like origami, you know?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I still wish you could go through walls with it.
Well, I mean, you kind of can. But also, cool, when you combine it with any other thing that manipulates space like that, like the bag of holding or... oh, man, you guys are gonna give me a hard time for this. I'm not remembering the other one.
All right.
But Haversacks, what was it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
The
about.
backpack version.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you put one of those inside of the other,
Yeah. It's disaster.
it opens a one-way hole into the astral plane.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
It doesn't just open a gate, though. It opens a gate to the astral plane,
And sucks you
and
in,
it
and
sucks
closes.
everything
Yeah.
within 10 feet into that. I had a bag of holding for a very long time as Elementos,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow someone threw a black or a portable hole into it. Why did that happen? I can't recall.
I don't know. But there are all kinds
They
of
destroyed
cool,
it,
like...
and we almost got sucked in.
Yeah, but there are so many cool role-playing things that you can do with that. You know, you can make
I'm coming down really hard on the portable hole. I don't know why.
the dead man switch, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you can set that up, like, all right, if you kill me, that's fine, but then I drop this in the portable hole, and
Yeah.
then we both get sucked in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's either both of us or one of us,
Yeah.
sort of scenario. That's always kind of nice. Ticking time bombs is a cool thing. I guess portable hole is all right, is what I'm saying.
All right, well, what would you have for your next choice?
My number 6 is a horn of blasting. It's a rare item, and basically you have a secret trigger word for the horn, and when you say that word, a 30-foot cone that can have a 600-foot range.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good range. Everyone within that 30-foot cone has to make, I think it's a dex save, or they take 5d6 thunder damage, and they're deaf for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And there can be a lot of versatile uses to having a lot of
Oh,
deaf
yeah.
people, right?
This is a pretty cool magical item. Are there any catches?
Yeah, there's a catch. Huh? There. So the only problem with the horn is that the horn of blasting has a 20% chance every time you use it that it could explode, which does something like 10d6 fire damage to whoever was using it.
Yeah. Which I think
I
is
like
awesome.
those odds, you know.
Well, and it's
80% is good.
it adds some stakes too. You know, one of the things about magical items is, you know, they can be game breaking if you're playing with real power players, real min maxers, optimizers. You know, you can inadvertently be creating a situation where someone's just tearing ass through your encounters. You know, and just making it a little less fun for other people.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm always a fan of making sure to have either expendable magic items or one that comes with some kind of caveat.
Yeah,
you know?
there's got to be a risk.
Like a curse or side effects.
And
you
that also creates pensive climax cliffhanger moments inside of your game where everyone has to kind of sit back and pay attention to what you're doing for just 1 second because it might
could
blow
blow
up in your-
everybody up. Yeah.
It's just gonna it's gonna go south.
Yeah.
So which is always nice to kind of have that sort of moment inside of a game. Very cinematic for sure. So that said, that's the horn of blasting. How about number 7? What you got?
Okay, so my second to last choice.
Okay.
There's just something so absurd about it because it's such a specific use case, but it's
Okay.
also hyper powerful. Some of you might know that I'm talking about the Sovereign Glue.
Yes.
Okay, so this magic item comes in a vial that I think has like 1d6 plus 4 ounces in it when you find it or something like that. Each ounce can cover a 1 foot square area.
Okay.
And it takes, I think, a minute to set. I think it's a minute.
Okay.
Here's the catch, though. Once something has become set in this glue, there are only 3 things that can separate that bond.
Okay.
Which is a wish spell. So there are very few things in D&D that can only be undone with a wish. So that's like, it's like, what? This is like some kind of like crazy magical super glue. That's kind of
I've
weird.
always kind of thought wishes sucked in D&D, but I like its application there.
Or the oil of etherealness, which I guess makes the glue ethereal and thus not capable of bonding physical matter together anymore.
Maybe it's just an oil and water. Ethereal water and glue, sovereign glue don't mix.
I don't get that primarily because there's the only other way to break the bond of sovereign glue is with the universal solvent, which basically only exists to undo sovereign glue. So it's like this weird. It's just
Don't
it's such
buy
a
one without the
it's
other.
a hyper specific, although highly powerful.
I know what it is. The same company that makes sovereign glue also sells because you catch them on both ends. It's like making lay chips and making diarrhea medication. So, what is that? Is that what you got for sovereign glue? It's a really strong glue.
Yeah, it's basically this.
Only Rusty would choose for a magic item. Like, I could have anything, just all the magical uses. I just want a fucking glue that works. That's where your brain went. Just a really good glue. It's a really good glue.
It's a good,
Okay. All right, I like it. Sovereign glue. I do think it's a pretty cool thing. It is. That said, we'll move on to number 8, which is the Scarab of Protection. I like it. It has a very majestic name. But it's a wondrous item, and it's legendary. And so it might be a little difficult to come by. But it's basically a medallion that looks like a beetle. And when you put it in your hand, you have to hold it there for 1 round. But after you do hold it for 1 round, a tiny inscription appears on its back. Kind of like the cakes in Alice in Wonderland that say, "Eat me." And basically it grants you a couple things. So the first thing it grants you is just advantage on saving throws, which I think a couple of our items have kind of dabbled in that. We all know how helpful just having an extra dice roll is. So the second thing is more geared towards defending yourself against necromancy. But it has 12 charges, and every turn, a failed save against necromancy can be turned into a successful save. So if you're battling anyone with any sort of necromantic magic,
any kind of undead
you have 12 infallible rounds,
Yeah.
essentially, while holding this thing.
Which, since most encounters last substantially less than 12 rounds,
Yeah.
you're basically looking at coming out of a battle with the undead unscathed.
Yeah. And then on top of that, even if you get attacked by someone who's not undead, there's no necromancy involved, you still have advantage on saving throws. So it makes up for its like over specificity or circumstance specificity by having that little bonus, which I really like.
Having specific use cases for magical items, though, can be used to a DM's benefit because it allows for a vehicle for like a plot line. So if there's a big bad guy, for example, that is insurmountable except for this one weakness that it has, and it just so happens that like the one weakness corresponds to one of these hyper specific magical items.
And that's what you're getting at there, to take a really short detour real quick, is a really strong DM tip. Maybe we can put like hashtag DM tip or something right now. But is just give your players cool magical items and then wait a while and then throw something at them that maybe that magical item could be very impactful for. And don't remind them that they have it. Let them remember in that last moment, oh shit, I have this thing that'll slay the giant, because that kind of moment is a hair-raising moment for the players and really exciting.
And it also provides a certain continuity to your narrative. It will allow for things to be tied together in a way that, even though you're kind of, your campaign should be open-ended and flow with your character's choices, that provides a really good way to call back to something and tie it together to make it more meaningful and to make the production value a little higher.
Yeah, it's fluid.
Yeah.
I think in general, too, it's important as a DM to remember when you're planning an adventure, you're planning it for the players. You're not planning it against the players. So, whereas some DMs would be like, oh, I remember I gave them this magical item, so I'm not going to put them in a scenario where it would be useful. You should be putting them in a scenario where it would be useful, right?
Just not so ABC about it.
Yeah. Just don't tell them about it. All right, so hit us with number 9.
Okay, speaking of legendary items, my 5th and final choice, number 9 on our list, is the Apparatus of Qualish.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool item, though. All right?
Okay, tell me about it.
Well, at first glance, it appears to be like a normal, large, like, wine or whiskey or, dry goods barrel.
Okay.
But with the skillful hands in a DC 20 dexterity investigation check, you actually activate a little hatch that opens up, and 2 medium-sized creatures can fit inside of this barrel, and there's a system of 10 levers that control its abilities.
Okay, go on.
All right. Well, when you pull one of these levers, it turns the barrel into this like robot crab submarine tank.
Okay, this sounds like they ran out of ideas for magical items and hired a 6-year-old to invent one, because this is madness. This is the dreams of a madman. There is more, isn't there?
It's definitely like kind of steampunk, kind of whimsical, kind of childish, yes.
I know. Tell me more.
This is a fantasy game after all.
It's just so involved. Go
on.
Go.
Well, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's a magical robot vehicle.
Okay.
That's it. It counts as a large vehicle.
So the barrel becomes this...
Yeah, the barrel is like the shell of this magical crab vehicle thing.
Magic crab robot.
Yeah, it's got like 6 legs.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's got claws. And it's got little head beams.
Does it have attack damage, etc.?
Yeah. It can make claw attacks.
Nice.
It has an armor class of 20. It's got 200 hit points. It can walk or swim 30 feet per round.
Okay.
One of the things that I think is so cool about this
How big is this thing?
2 medium-sized creatures can fit in it. So it's considered a large vehicle.
Huh. You could have kind of a Godzilla versus Mothra scenario
Maybe not
this
quite
thing.
that big, but yeah. And that's actually why
You-
I like it.
You could, if someone in your party had the spell of enlarge reduce.
Ooh, that only works on creatures. But I like where you're going with that.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, the thing that I like the most about it is, unlike other magical items, it doesn't require attunement. It's a magical device.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Anyone who pops inside can use it.
yeah, but there are these 10 levers, and it's not like there's instruction manuals, and it's a legendary rare, like very rare item. You know, so you know, what are the chances that you've read the manual and have heard through the grapevine?
What do the other levers do?
They do various things like make it walk forward or walk backwards or swim up or swim down.
Do you have to
Attack.
roll a dice of chance in order
Well,
to determine
no.
if you get them right?
Well, I mean,
What are the
the
mechanics?
mechanics of it would be, you know, if you're in combat, you know, turn-based rounds,
Yeah.
you know, you'd have to use an action to interact with the thing by pulling a lever, and if you don't know what it is, there's your process of elimination trying to figure it out, and that's one of the cool things.
And the DM would determine what each lever does at that point.
No, there's a table for it in the
Okay,
D&G.
there is a
Yeah.
table. Interesting.
Um,
That's
Yeah, just imagine a scenario where the characters think that they're way
Mind-boggling.
overclassed,
yeah.
but their rogue finds this barrel, like notices this barrel is kind of weird, and it like turns into this tank.
Crab tank.
Yeah, but then while suddenly their morale is boosted, you know, by yeah, we're gonna beat it now. But then they've got to bumble around with the
Crab tank.
crab tank controls until they get it right. You know, it's just it can be a highly comical.
It is
You know.
highly comical.
Yeah.
Without any further ado, we're going to move on to number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, these are in no particular order,
Yeah, because
so no drum roll necessary.
your choice might be boring compared to
It's a boring, but it's the best magical item.
it probably is.
It's boring because it doesn't do it's not unique. Everybody knows this magical item.
They even make a miniature for it.
They do.
Yep.
It's the Bag of Holding. Number 10, Bag of Holding. The Bag of Holding cannot be missed on any magic item list, in my
No,
opinion.
especially if you're playing a classic dungeoneering campaign.
It's so versatile. It's come into play. My character Elementos had one for the first couple years we were playing, and then, like we said, a portable hole got thrown into it somehow, and it exploded. And you know what? I loved that magical item so much, and we had used it so often that I made sure to go out and buy another one.
Yeah.
And we've used it plenty since. It's incredibly useful. It holds 500 pounds, 64 cubic feet volume inside. But it only weighs, but it only weighs 15 pounds, I think.
So think Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it's a Mary Poppins bag for sure. And it's super useful for wizards, especially because a wizard who comes from a necromancy school is going to need to just collect the dead, right?
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
every time there's a slaughter, you grab all of the dead's
I remember
carcasses,
you talking about this idea.
throw them into the Bag of Holding,
Mm-hmm.
take them home.
Because a living creature
boil it
wouldn't
off.
survive. They'd run out of oxygen.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you can collect that, and then you have this bag that you can just toss out in
And
the
then
middle of
animate
battle
corpses,
and
yeah.
animate all these corpses. And that's just one of many insane uses for the Bag of Holding.
Can somebody in the comments please do the math for how many dead bodies you could fit in 64 cubic feet?
And 500 pounds.
Yeah. Oh, would it work to like desiccate the bodies first, like dry them out, like jerky?
Well, what I was saying is take it home, boil them off so they're just bones.
Oh, okay.
Throw that back in the bag. Now you've got skeletons, right? You can do it any way you want. Not to be too macabre about it, but I would definitely boil them bones.
Yeah. You'd get a lot more skeletons than you would zombies, yeah. So even though they're weaker, they'd you'd have more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elementos has a sort of fetish for the bones anyways, but
Elementos likes a good bone.
yeah. Yeah. So it should be said that the cons are the exploding gate that opens into an astral plane, destroying both the bag of holding and the portable hole that goes inside.
Yeah,
that
but
is an option, and it will suck anything within 10 feet of it into that astral plane.
I think
so
you
it's
have to
good
make
know.
a DC 20
You get to
dexterity
make
save.
you get to make a very difficult throw. And also, living things can go inside of it for some time. They suffocate over time. But it's a good amount of time that they can actually be carried in there. It's
Yeah.
definitely useful.
Well, there are situations, and I would just want to add, you could use this with the portable hole too. Like,
Okay.
if you've got a very sneaky rogue or monk, and the rest of your party's in like full plate armor, throw him in the bag for a quick couple of minutes, and have your rogue just jump over the wall, silently
Yeah.
sneak into the middle of the fortress.
That's true. You can decrease the weight and size of things and use it as a sling. So there it is. Those are our top 10 magical items.
Our top 10 favorites.
Yeah. And go ahead and let us know if there's an item that really should have been on this top 10 list.
Actually, I don't care. I'm joking.
He doesn't care.
She
I'll
does.
pretend to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, leave a comment below and please subscribe. Hope you like our new camera. This has been Garage Quest, and see you next time.